Then I would move on to the next exercise, which was the Atlas stone. For the Atlas stone, I don't actually have an Atlas stone, but I do have a 150-pound slam ball. So I use that in place of the Atlas stone because it does the exact same job. And the way that I did it, I have this platform that's meant to be used for plyo jumps, but instead of using it for jumps, I like to use it as a platform just to put the ball on.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another Sunday Q&A. Before we start, just a quick reminder that if you like what you see, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our videos. Also, if you have any questions, ask them down in the comment section and we'll either respond to you directly in the comment section or answer your questions during another one of our weekly Sunday Q&As. Alright, time to answer your questions.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another Sunday Q&A. For today's Q&A, it's another carnivore question. Last week, I ended up posting my transformation, my 30-day transformation from March 1st up until March 29th. And I also joined the group World Carnivore Tribe on Facebook. When I joined that group, I ended up posting my transformation photo and I ended up getting a lot of positive feedback on it. I got over 370 likes on it and I also got 140 comments on it within the first day. So the Sunday Q&A is now going to be called the Carnivore Q&A since that seems to be all the questions that I am getting with regard to this Sunday Q&A. With regard to this week's Q&A, the question that I'm going to answer is one of the questions that I got asked most frequently when I made that post in the Facebook group, and it is, what exactly is my workout? My workout, as I mentioned in the past, I have a 5-day split. Day 1, 2, and 4 are my workout days. Days 3 and 5 are my rest days. In terms of how exactly my workout is structured, day 1 is my push and pull day, day 2 is my leg day, and day 4 was a strongman training day. For day 1 on my push and pull day, I did 6 different exercises. Those 6 different exercises were the single arm push-up, the 1-arm pull-up. I ended up supersetting those 2 exercises, which means I would do one exercise, take a break, move on to the next exercise, and then I would go back and forth. For the single arm push-up and 1-arm pull-up, I would perform 5 sets of each of the exercises. In terms of the single arm push-ups, I would perform 5 to 10 repetitions. At the beginning of the month, I started out with 5 repetitions and then I built it up. By the end of the month, I was getting up to 10. In terms of the tempo for the exercise for the single arm push-up, I was doing a 3-2-1-0 tempo. That means that I would lower myself down to the ground for 3 seconds. I would let myself rest on the ground for 2 seconds. That way I would eliminate any momentum whatsoever to make it a little bit more challenging. And then I would press myself up for 1 second. Once I had completed the 5 to 10 repetitions, then I would move on to my left arm, perform 5 to 10 repetitions on the left arm, and then I would rest for 120 seconds before moving on to the 1-arm pull-up.
All right, who wants
With
to
the
do
1-arm
some
pull-up,
pull-ups?
same thing. I performed 5 to 10 repetitions. I started out with 5 repetitions at the beginning of the month, and then I kept adding repetitions until at the end of the month, I got up to 10 repetitions. In terms of the tempo for the 1-arm pull-up, I performed it at a 4-0-1-0 tempo. What that means is I would lower myself down for 4 seconds and then I would pull myself back up for 1 second without resting at the top or bottom position of the movement. And in terms of the rest period was exactly the same as the push-up. I would rest for 120 seconds before moving back to the 1-arm push-up. Once I completed 5 sets of the 1-arm push-ups and the 1-arm pull-ups, then I would move on to the next pair of exercises. The next pair of exercises that I supersetted were the seated military press and the standing straight arm cable pull down. For the seated military press and standing cable pull down, I performed 4 sets of each of those exercises, and again, I would superset those exercises. For the seated military press, I performed 3 to 5 repetitions at a 5-0-1-0 tempo. That means that I would lower the weight down until it touched my clavicle for 5 seconds. As soon as it made contact, I would push it back up for 1 second. I would then rest for 90 seconds before moving on to the straight arm cable pull down. For the straight arm cable pull down, again, 4 sets. I would perform 6 to 8 repetitions for this one, so the repetitions were a little bit higher, and I performed it at a 3-0-1-0 tempo. What that means is I would pull the bar down for 1 second, and then I would bring it back to the starting position for 3 seconds without resting at the top or bottom position of the movement. I would thus rest for 90 seconds before moving back to the seated military press. Once I had performed each of those exercises 4 times, then I would move on to the third pair of exercises. For the third pair of exercises, I would perform the bench press and the wide parallel grip chin-ups. For these last 2 exercises, I only performed 3 sets. For the bench press, I performed 4 to 6 repetitions at a 5-0-1-0 tempo. That means that I would lower the weight down until it touched my chest for 5 seconds. As soon as it made contact with my chest, I would immediately press it back up for 1 second without resting at the top or bottom position of the movement. And then I would rest 60 seconds before moving on to the wide parallel grip chin-ups. For the wide parallel grip chin-ups, I had no specific reps that I was trying to achieve. Instead, I would just perform as many repetitions as possible, and I would perform it at a 1-0-1-0 tempo. What that means is I would lift myself up for 1 second and lower myself down for 1 second. I would then rest for 60 seconds before moving back to the bench press. Once I completed 3 sets of each of those exercises, my workout was done for the day. Then day 2, that was my leg day. On my leg day, I only performed 2 exercises, and the 2 exercises were the heel elevated barbell back squat and the conventional deadlift. For the heel elevated barbell back squat and conventional deadlift, again, I performed them in a superset fashion, and I performed 5 sets of each of the exercises. For each of them, I did 3 to 5 repetitions. For the heel elevated barbell back squat, it was 5 sets of 3 to 5 repetitions at a 4-0-1-0 tempo, which means I would lower myself down to the ground until my hamstrings made contact with my calves, so I would go ass to grass. And then I would stand up for 1 second without resting at the top or bottom position of the movement. And then I would rest for 120 seconds before moving on to the conventional deadlift. For the conventional deadlift, all of the acute exercise variables were the same as the heel elevated barbell back squat. I would perform 5 sets of 3 to 5 repetitions at a 4-0-1-0 tempo and rest 120 seconds. What that means is for the conventional deadlift, I would stand up with the weight for 1 second, and then I would lower it down until it touched the ground for 4 seconds, and as soon as it made contact with the ground, I would hop right back up for 1 second without resting at the top or bottom position of the movement. Those were my 2 exercises. Once I completed 5 sets of each of those exercises, that was it for the day. Day 3 is my rest day, so on day 3 I would not do any type of training whatsoever. Day 4 was my strongman training day. On my strongman training day, I performed 3 exercises, and each of these exercises, unlike the previous 2 workouts, they were performed one after the other. I did not superset them at all. The first exercise on my strongman training day was the standing log press. For the standing log press, I performed 5 sets of 1 to 8 repetitions, and the way it worked was I performed closer to 8 repetitions as the month started, and then as the month got closer and closer to the end, I built myself up to try to get to a 1 repetition maximum. In terms of the tempo for the log press, I would do a 5-0-1-0 tempo, which means I would press the weight overhead for 1 second, and then I would lower the weight for 5 seconds until it made contact with the chest. Once I had completed my 1 to 8 repetitions, I would rest for 180 seconds, and I would continue to do the log press until I had completed 5 sets of that one exercise. After my 5 sets were completed, then I would move on to the next exercise, which was the Atlas stone. For the Atlas stone, I don't actually have an Atlas stone, but I do have a 150-pound slam ball. So I use that in place of the Atlas stone because it does the exact same job. And the way that I did it, I have this platform that's meant to be used for plyo jumps, but instead of using it for jumps, I like to use it as a platform just to put the ball on. So I would start with about a 4.5 foot platform, and then every week, because I don't have a heavier weight than a 150-pound slam ball, instead of adding weight, I ended up making the platform a little bit higher. By the time I got to the second last workout, I was up to a 5 foot platform. And the way that I structured that exercise was I did 5 sets of 3 to 5 repetitions. In terms of tempo, I did not have any specific tempo that I was following for this one. My main objective with the Atlas stone was just get it up, put it on the platform, drop it down, and repeat that until I did 5 repetitions. Once I completed my 5 repetitions, I would rest for 180 seconds before performing another set of 5 repetitions, and I did that for 5 total sets. Once that was complete, I had 1 exercise left. For the last exercise on my strongman training day, I did a farmer's carry. For the farmer's carry, it was a static hold. I don't have a massive space over here, so I don't have a lot of room where I could just run around with the farmer's carry. So the next best thing for me is just to do a static hold. What that means is I would just pick up the weight, stand in place, and hold it for 30 seconds. For the farmer's carry, because I was doing a static hold, instead of having a set number of repetitions, I gave myself a max time of 30 seconds. The way that worked is I would stack on as much weight as I could hold for 30 seconds. If I was able to get to the 30-second mark without letting go of the handles, then the following workout, I would increase the weight. By the end of the month, I got up to 400 pounds. That was not 400 pounds in each arm, that was 200 in each arm, and I would hold it for 30 seconds. And that pretty much covers what I did on my strongman training day. On day 5 is my rest day, so I didn't have any type of training that I would do on day 5. And then once the 5 days were complete, I would go back to day 1, and I just repeated that throughout the course of the month. Now, in terms of additional activities that I did, I wasn't only doing training because I was also doing a lot of filming for you guys, doing some exercise technique videos and also some workout videos. So on top of my regular training, I was doing a lot of stuff like tire flips. I was doing a lot of exercise technique videos and workout videos, which added up to about 3 to 4 hours of additional training every week. Now, those trainings, they weren't as intense. It's not like I was going really, really heavy when I was doing those technique or workout videos, but it still did add up to quite a bit of additional activity throughout the course of the week. I also had a friend come in. We ended up filming some segments for his YouTube channel, and I was putting him through a strongman workout that I would do myself, and I also did some other exercises with him. Some of the exercises that I did when I brought him in were some tire flipping. I have a 550-pound tire in the back, so we brought that out. I showed him how to flip it a few times. I also showed him how to do the Atlas stone, and I also demonstrated the one-arm push-up and one-arm pull-ups. So that day alone, we ended up training for about an hour and a half, and that hour and a half was pretty intense just from me showing him the techniques to all those different videos. So even though my training was only 3 out of every 5 days, with the additional training that I was doing for YouTube, my training was actually significantly higher than it had been in January and February. And that's also one of the reasons why I got a lot leaner over the course of March. It wasn't just the carnivore diet, it was also the amount of training that I was doing throughout March. That pretty much covers it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions regarding my experience with the carnivore diet, or if you have any questions related to the carnivore diet, or anything at all like training, exercise, anything, just ask your question down in the comment section. I'll either respond to you directly in the comment section or answer your question during one of our Sunday Q&As. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys again next week.
That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in. If you liked what you saw, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our videos. And if you have any questions, ask them down in the comment section, and we'll either respond to you directly in the comment section or answer your questions during another one of our weekly Sunday Q&As. Keep fit, have fun, and we'll see you again next week.